This is the fascinating story of how a bunch of normal high school kids went from doing stuff like this to this. That's right, we're delving into zombie territory with this one. The story was dropped on Netflix in 2022, and it takes place in the South Korean city of Hyosan. Based on a webtoon with the same title, All of Us Are Dead became an instant success among fans worldwide. Throughout the show, we meet a cast of characters you'll either love, hate, or cry over. Sometimes all three in the same episode. But just so you know, this is a zombie story, which means people are going to die. A lot of people. So, buckle up, enjoy the chaos, and let's jump right into it. The first episode starts on a rooftop, where a group of bullies from Hyosan High School are messing with this quiet kid, Lee Jin-soo. Their ringleader, Sun Myung-hwan, and his crew are laughing it up, pushing him around and being absolute pricks. Apparently, Jin-soo had attempted to unalive himself recently, and left a note blaming Myung-hwan for pushing him over the edge. And Myung-hwan does not appreciate getting name dropped. At first, Jin-soo just takes all the beating without resisting. But when one guy, this guy right here, Yoon Gui-nam, literally grinds his shoe into Jin-soo's face, Jin-soo suddenly snaps. He starts growling like a wild animal and lunging at them. For a second, it looks like Jin-soo might put up a fight, but no, there's too many of them. They beat him senseless, throw him off the roof, and we see him bang his head on every metal obstacle on the way down. Oof. Even after getting dropped from a 2-story building, Jin-soo miraculously survives. He's later rushed to the hospital, where doctors say he needs surgery ASAP, or he won't make it. Jin-soo's dad, Lee Byung-chan, who also happens to be a science teacher at Hyosan High School, overhears the doctors and doesn't seem too keen on the surgery idea. So he sneaks into his son's ward to handle things. The guy clearly knows way more about Jin-soo's condition than he's letting on. When Jin-soo wakes up, he starts saying some creepy stuff about killing the bullies to stop whatever the hell is happening to him. You can clearly see the bloodlust on Jin-soo's face. Then, all of a sudden, he becomes quite aggressive and actually tries to bite his dad. So, what does dad do? He smacks him unconscious with a Bible and stuffs him in a suitcase to sneak him out of the hospital. Sheesh, I guess that's one way to handle things. We then shift to Hyosan High School, where one of the bullies, Kim Yeon-ju, falls asleep in the science lab. When she wakes up, she hears loud noises in Byung-chan's office. After she peeks inside, she finds a cute-looking mouse in a glass box and tries to touch it. That turns out to be a bad idea. The mouse bites her finger and starts smashing itself against the glass box like some kind of demon. And you can already tell that Yeonju has been infected by the mouse. Byung-chan finds her just as she's about to leave the lab, and he doesn't plan on letting her just walk away. He knocks her out and locks her in his office. This dude is low-key running something truly terrifying in this lab. Meanwhile, we meet some regular, well-adjusted students who aren't bullies or science experiments. Lee Chung-san, who's kind of a goofball with main character energy, and his equally goofy friend, Han Kyung-soo, run into their female friends Nam Onjo and her bestie, Yoon Isak. The four of them hang out at Chung-san's mom's chicken restaurant, which she embarrassingly named after him. The food's not great, but hey, free chicken is free chicken. The next morning, Onjo's dad, who's a firefighter, gives her a classic dad talk. He feels like his daughter isn't the smartest academically, and that's okay. He basically tells Onjo that grades don't matter, because at the end of the day, whether you're smart or dumb, rich or poor, everyone is equal in the face of an emergency.
톨게이트 쪽에서 사고 나서 아빠가 출동했는데 돈이 많건 적건 공부를 잘했건 못했건 사고 앞에서는 다 평등하더라.
That may sound dramatic, but trust me, it'll matter pretty soon. Elsewhere, we see another bullying session involving the usual suspects. The victims this time around are two friends, Kim Chol-soo and Min Eun-ji. The bullies force the guy, Chol-soo, to film his friend while she's topless. This is their punishment for reporting a previous bullying session to their teacher. It's pretty traumatic and gross, but it's where we meet Lee Si-yuk, a reformed bully who tries to stop the current bullies. Unfortunately, Guinam threatens to leak Eunji's embarrassing video, so the victims can't just walk away. And just like that, Chul-soo and Eunji end up going back to their tormentors. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Park Sun-hwa notices that Hyunju, the girl who got bitten by a mouse, hasn't shown up to class. She asks Byung-chan, the science teacher, who just lies and says he never saw her. But in reality, Hyunju is tied up to a radiator in his office, terrified, while he injects her with something to try to calm her down. Eventually, Hyunju starts reacting very violently, just like the mouse that bit her, and just like Jin-soo did from earlier in the episode. She manages to break free, stumbles into her classroom, collapses, and starts mumbling about the science teacher drugging her. She is then taken to the nurse's office, where everyone just thinks she's sick, until she suddenly starts acting aggressively and bites the nurse. Yikes, that's another person infected. Hyunju is then rushed to the hospital, while Byung-chan gets arrested. Before he's taken away, he begs the school authorities to not take Hyunju to the hospital and keep her in quarantine instead, but no one takes him seriously. Shortly after, the entire school becomes an absolute war zone. We start with the school nurse, who begins to feel ill and slowly turns into a zombie. Chang-hoon and Young-won, two of the bullies from earlier, find the nurse in her office and start filming her because they think she's high or something. The nurse hears their laughter in the corridor and attacks Chang-hoon, biting him on the cheek so violently that the flesh comes off. Chang-hoon then falls to the ground and reanimates just seconds later, before heading off to bite more kids. Suddenly, the whole school is a buffet line for zombies. Eunji, the bullied girl, is on the roof thinking of ending it all, until she looks down and sees actual zombies ripping through her classmates. Well, that changes her mind. Down in the cafeteria, nobody's aware of the zombie apocalypse headed their way. Instead, it's time for a brief love story. Onjo has been secretly crushing on Soo-yuk, the repentant bully guy. She can't tell him about it, she's just a girl. So she meets Chung-san, who just happens to be buddy-buddies with So-yuk. She asks him if So-yuk has ever spoken about her, among other love-struck questions. But before she can scratch her lovey-dovey itch, a swarm of students comes running in, followed by zombies breaking down the doors. Within seconds, Hyosan High School turns into an actual nightmare from hell. The next episode kicks off with the principal holding a staff meeting, and instead of freaking out like any sane person would, he basically waves off the zombie outbreak as a prank. He scolds Miss Park for calling the authorities and insists that whatever happens at the school must be handled internally, which is the dumbest thing anyone can say at this point. In order to keep up the illusion of order, he sends the teachers to push students back into their classrooms. But Miss Park, the English teacher who actually gives a damn about the students' well-being, doesn't plan on falling in line with the principal. In fact, she's decided to make a school-wide announcement at the broadcasting room, blowing the whistle on what's really happening. However, on her way to the broadcasting room, she sees a fellow teacher getting bitten by a raving, hungry zombie.
야, 엄마, 너 다리 뭐야 이거?
She nearly becomes lunch herself, but thankfully manages to escape. Meanwhile, things have already gone horribly wrong at the cafeteria. The kitchen staff grabs pots and knives to fight the zombies, but they're completely outnumbered. Chung-san, who's been dodging zombies left and right, is starting to look like the MC for real, and his love-struck friend Onjo escapes through a window with a few others. In the chaos, Guinam, the sleazy bully who attacked Jin-soo in the first episode and threatened to leak Eunji's nude video, shows his true colors yet again. This time around, he and two other students are hiding in the kitchen. Then one of them, a girl who's clearly frightened out of her mind, starts crying her eyes out. Instead of keeping her calm, Guinam pushes her straight into the zombies to save his own skin. This guy's the worst, honestly. Elsewhere, So-yuk, the repentant bully guy that Onjo has been crushing on, manages to drag the class president, Choi Nam-ra, out of harm's way. Using a ladder from the school groundskeeper, he helps her climb into classroom 2-5, where a group of terrified students has already barricaded themselves. Lee Na-yeon, a girl born into a wealthy family and who constantly looks down on others, tries to convince the other students not to let anyone else in, but they ignore her. Soon, Chung-san, Onjo, Soo-yuk, Nam-ra, and Daisu, a plump dude who loves chicken, are all inside together. So, while the kids regroup in classroom 2-5, we cut to the police station. Detective Song Jae-ik is interrogating Byung-chan, who created the zombie virus in the first place. He did it because nobody took bullying at the school seriously, not even when his own son was the victim. His solution was to engineer a virus called the Jonas virus to make his son fight back. We get a brief backstory where Byung-chan is explaining his scientific research. First, he placed a mouse and a cat together. The mouse would sit in a corner, trembling in fear. But once in a while, the mouse would lose its senses due to overwhelming fear and attack the cat. When this happened, its testosterone levels would shoot up. He then extracted that hormone and refined it. He hoped that by injecting that hormone into his son, Jin-soo would be able to actually fight back against his bullies. Instead, Jin-soo went full feral and bit his mom, thereby spreading the infection.
그리고 엄마를 물었다.
So, yeah, parenting fail of the year. At the hospital, Yeonju, the very first student to get bitten, fully turns into a zombie during an MRI scan. It took a while, but it becomes obvious that she's gonzo when she literally snaps her body in half like she's a folding lawn chair. She immediately tears into the staff and nearby patients, spreading the infection even further. On the road, we meet Hyosan High School's archery team in their bus, heading back to school after a failed competition. Along the way, they almost run over Park Hee-soo, a pregnant female student who they don't realize is going into some serious labor. We also meet the archery team's grumpy coach, who won't stop yapping to one of the students, Jang Ha-ri, that she hasn't brought home a single gold medal. As they approach the school gates, they hit a zombie, and the whole team realizes immediately something isn't right. Back in classroom 2-5, the trapped kids try to get some help from the outside world. Onjo's bestie, Isok, finds a working cell phone and calls the police. But at first, they dismiss it as a typical teenage prank call. That quickly changes when the hospital floods the police with similar calls about someone biting people left and right. Unfortunately, by the time the police get their shit together, all the students may already be dead. So, thinking fast, Onjo calls the fire department as well, and reports a fake fire in their classroom, forcing the fire department to send a truck to the school. Back in classroom 2-5, things take a dark turn when the gym teacher, Kang Jin-gu, shows up to take refuge, only for the students to realize that he's been bitten. He tries to deny it at first, but there's clearly a bite mark on his arm, the signature love bite of a flesh muncher.
쌤 물렸잖아요. 나가요.
While Jin-gu is busy getting defensive and angry, he slowly but steadily transforms into a zombie in real time and immediately starts munching on a student's flesh. The kids start bolting out of the classroom, ripping doors and windows off their frames to use as makeshift shields as they scramble upstairs. In the madness, Soo-hyuk is separated from the other students and hides in an art classroom. Onjo and the others manage to break into the science lab with a fire hose, but they lose the only cell phone they have in the process. This means they can't communicate with the outside world. And while stuck in the science lab, Onjo just can't stop thinking about Soo-hyuk and wondering if he's still alive. Elsewhere, we meet 3 students, a cowardly guy, Yoo Jun-sung, a sickly girl, Lee Ha-lim, and the sharp-tongued Park Mi-jin, all hiding in the girls' bathroom. Ha-lim is already showing signs of infection, but her friend Jun-sung isn't ready to accept her fate, mostly because he's kind of a coward who would rather believe a lie. And secondly, Ha-lim actually saved him from a zombie earlier that day. But Mi-jin is the no-nonsense type, who already knows what time it is, so she forcibly locks up Ha-lim in the bathroom stall. While locked up and slowly transforming, Ha-lim vows to kill Mi-jin first as an act of revenge.
내가 먼저 죽을 거야.
When Ha-lim finally turns into a zombie, Mi-jin actually puts up a good fight, with very little help from Jun-sung, but it's almost impossible to kill the undead. And just as things start to look grim for the duo, Ha-ri, the archer who's never won a gold medal, scores a big W when she storms in and takes out Ha-lim with an arrow. She coldly tells her teammate to get ready to shoot the other 2 students if they turn into zombies. Mi-jin doesn't take kindly to the threat, but before she can argue, the school intercom crackles with static. That's because Miss Park has finally reached the broadcasting room. She sends out a heartfelt announcement urging everyone to stay safe and call emergency services. She encourages the students to leave the school if they can, but at this point, it's kind of like she's giving medicine to a dead person. I mean, most of the students are zombies right now, and those who aren't are trapped inside the school premises. Interestingly, as she's talking, the zombies swore toward the sound of her voice. Anyway, back in the science lab, something wicked is about to happen. Anjo notices that all is not well with her best friend Isaac. Her hand feels unnaturally cold. Within seconds, Isaac starts nosebleeding and her eyes turn red. These are all telltale signs that she's been bitten. When Isaac's body starts convulsing and twisting violently, Anjo still refuses to accept the fact that her friend is dead and that her body has been taken over by an undead monster. As Isaac tries to attack Anjo, Chung-san intervenes and throws her out the window. In a truly heartbreaking scene, Anjo tries to hold on to her best friend, but Chung-san forces her to let go. So now, Anjo is forced to deal with the thoughts that two people she loves, Soo-yuk and Isaac, are both dead. Damn. Later, Chung-san suggests that they use the fire hose to escape to the broadcasting room down below, where Miss Park is taking refuge. As things stand, an army of zombies are trying to force their way into the science lab, and the barricades won't last much longer. One by one, the students climb down to the broadcasting room, using the fire hose. Anjo nearly gives up, and considers letting herself be eaten out of sheer grief. But Chung-san talks some sense into her, and convinces her to live on. Meanwhile, Soo-yuk is still miraculously alive. He narrowly escapes getting bitten in the art classroom by climbing onto a window ledge where the zombies can't reach him. Back in the science lab, Chung-san is the last person who's yet to climb down the fire hose. But just as he's about to join the others, the barricades in the science lab come crashing down, and we see a horde of zombies pouring out the window after him. The students can only watch in horror from the broadcast room as their friend disappears into the chaos. In the following episode, Hee-soo goes into labor in a filthy public bathroom. With no help around, she delivers the baby all by herself and leaves the newborn all wrapped up while she gathers her strength. Back at the school, Soo-yuk is desperately clinging onto the outside wall that's above the broadcast room. He notices the zombies diving out of the science lab window and sees Chung-san holding onto the fire hose. Soo-yuk realizes right on time that a zombie is about to lunge at him, so he jumps toward Chung-san and grabs the fire hose as well. Together, they make it to the broadcast room. However, Na-yoon suggests locking the window so the boys can't come in, because she's all about her own self-preservation. Of course, nobody takes her seriously, and Chung-san's best friend Kyung-soo starts having a verbal altercation with Na-yoon. He's kind of sick of her condescending attitude, and she fires back by basically saying that he's too poor to have an opinion. Ouch. Their teacher, Miss Park, tries to keep everyone calm and remind them of their bigger problem outside. In the outside world, Hee-soo leaves the bathroom with the hope that some good Samaritan would find her baby there. Barely seconds later, she sees a police car crash nearby. The officers inside are violently convulsing, all thanks to the criminal suspect in the back seat, who already sent them on their way to zombiehood. Realizing she left her baby behind, Hee-soo runs back for him and manages to escape, clutching the crying child as she runs through the city streets. I guess those maternal instincts finally kicked in. We then cut to the broadcast room, where the students open a computer to check for information on Facebook, and they soon learn that the virus has spread everywhere. Before they can react, however, a zombie uses the fire hose dangling outside the window to break into the broadcast room. Sheesh. Are these creatures getting smarter or something? Chung-san quickly uses a broken mop handle to stab the zombie and hold it off. But in the scramble, Kyung-soo gets whacked in the nose and suffers a few cuts from hitting a metal object. The next scene takes place in a government building. Captain Soju, Anjo's dad, is with Assemblywoman Park Eun-hee and her team. Soju and his partner have been summoned to take care of an emergency. One of the Assemblywoman's aides has turned into a zombie, although they just think the guy's going crazy or something. While trying to restrain him, the aide ends up biting Soju's firefighter buddy on his finger. Nobody makes a big deal out of it just yet. The government finally declares a level 3 disaster, and Soju is ordered to help evacuate the city. We then cut back to the broadcast room, where Na-yoon sees the bruise on Kyung-soo's wrist and quickly alerts the others. Everyone except Chung-san becomes terribly suspicious that the guy might be infected. Chung-san tries to calm everyone's nerves by pointing out that it's just a scratch, not a bite mark. But Na-yoon still isn't buying it.
나 다 봤어. 좀비가 네 손 잡는 거. 내 말이 맞잖아.
To settle the argument once and for all, Miss Park suggests isolating Kyung-soo in the recording booth next door for 30 minutes. If he stays normal, Na-yoon will have to apologize to him. Like that's ever going to happen. We return to the government building, where Soju learns that there's a zombie virus that spread through the bites. He realizes his firefighter buddy was also bitten by the aide with the zombie-like symptoms, and he looks on as his partner starts zombifying in real time. Soju barely manages to restrain him before anyone else gets bitten. Back at Hyosan, riot police have set up barricades closing off major roads. Chung-san's mom tries to get through a police barricade but is turned away, forcing her into the narrow back streets, where she crashes her bike while trying to dodge Hee-soo. Now the poor woman is left limping on foot toward the school, just to find out if her son is okay. 30 minutes pass, and Kyung-soo is still visibly fine. Chung-san tries to cheer him up by whistling a song at him through the booth window. However, Kyung-san refuses to come out of the recording room, and insists on staying there for an hour. Miss Park reminds Na-yoon of her promise to apologize, so Na-yoon goes inside the recording room. And what she does next is one of the most mind-bogglingly evil things I've ever seen a character do. Instead of simply saying, "Sorry, my bad," she quietly smears the poor guy's injury with a handkerchief, which she had deliberately stained with zombie blood. She then doubles and triples down on her earlier classist insult. Soon after Kyung-soo comes out of the recording room, he starts to change physically, and chaos breaks out in the broadcast room. Kyung-soo immediately accepts his fate, and chooses to leave the room while he still can, so he doesn't hurt anyone. As he approaches the door, however, he starts hallucinating that everyone in the room is laughing at him. This triggers his transformation further, and he starts attacking everyone. Chung-san lures him to the window by whistling the same song from earlier, and barely dodges as Kyung-soo leaps out of the building, falling to his death below. Chung-san breaks down crying as he watches his best friend stumble away as a zombie. Damn. Never forget that a simple apology would have prevented all of this. Meanwhile, Hee-soo has already been bitten by zombies while running with her newborn baby. She manages to reach Chung-san Chicken Restaurant and locks herself inside. Knowing she will soon turn into one of those monsters, she ties herself to the door handle of the dining area so the baby will remain safe on the couch. And, as expected, her body finally gives in to the virus. Back at the government building, officials are arguing about what to do. Assemblywoman Eun-hee pushes for an immediate evacuation, but Captain Soju insists on prioritizing ordinary citizens over VIPs. Seems he was onto something after all when he told his daughter that everyone is equal in the face of an emergency. He later tries to call his daughter Anjo, but there's no response. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, Namja reveals what Na-yoon did to Kyung-soo. Apparently, while everyone was distracted, Namsa saw Na-yoon smearing her hanky on the bloodied mop handle that Chung-san had used to stab the zombie. The others demand that Na-yoon prove that she's innocent by rubbing her leg wound with the same hanky. But upon seeing how everyone has turned against her, Na-yoon starts crying and then breaks away from the group. As she heads into the hallway, Miss Park goes after her to keep her out of harm's way. The episode ends with Na-yoon crying and thereby attracting a swarm of hungry zombies, putting both her and Miss Park in danger. And just like that, our first official villain makes her debut. The next episode begins with a vlogger named Oran Gibberish, brain rot name, who clearly values clicks over survival instincts. He decides it's a great idea to live stream from the city of Hyosan, the epicenter of all the zombie rumors online. On his way to the city, traffic gets jammed, so instead of turning around like a sane person, he ditches his car, straps on his gear like he's about to raid Area 51, and treks his way into danger. Sure enough, once night falls, he's sprinting through the streets with a mob of zombies on his heels, while his livestream chat can't decide whether it's real or just a bunch of paid actors. Meanwhile, Lee Chung-san's mom makes it all the way to the school gates with a busted leg. The woman is basically running on pure parental determination. She climbs over the school wall, spots Kyung-soo nearby, and thinks she's found an ally. But when she starts asking him about her son, he immediately attacks her, and her screams draw the rest of the undead, who overwhelm her within seconds. Tragic. Especially since her son, Changsan, is upstairs at the broadcast room window, reassuring Anjo and himself that his mom is probably safe at the restaurant. Talk about painful timing. Most of the students are still wondering what happened to Na Yoon and their teacher, since nobody's heard from them. They're also faced with another apocalypse-level crisis: how to answer the call of nature. They end up converting the recording room into a makeshift restroom. Back on the rooftop, Eunji and her friends Chul-soo are busy contemplating how unfair their lives have been. Eunji points out the helicopters overhead are circling, but not landing because, in her words, nobody cares about the school. Chul-soo tries to be the optimist, saying someone will save them, but then immediately pivots to the same burn-it-all-down energy, declaring that the school should just go up in flames. Honestly, with all the horrible things they've had to witness and experience from the bullies, I feel them. We then cut to the government building, where Captain Soju announces that a helicopter will come at 11 a.m. to evacuate Assemblywoman Eun-hee and her aides. Everyone sets up makeshift toilets and sleeping spaces for the night. But Soju secretly tells Eun-hee that he wants to leave and find his daughter, Anjo. Eun-hee understands his concerns, but reminds him that their jobs, her being a politician and him being a firefighter, demands that they take care of the most people they can help, and not just the people who matter most to them. Additionally, if he decides to leave, everyone else will want to leave as well, and then they'll all be zombie chow sooner or later. It's cold, but true, so the captain stays put.
가장 소중한 사람이 아니라 가장 많은 사람을 구해야 되니까.
Back at the school, we meet Guinam, the bully boy himself, who's now living proof that bad people will always outlive everyone else. Once outside the school building, he tries to make a break for it with a kitchen knife and a bicycle, but it doesn't work out. He gets chased back inside the school building and ends up hiding in the principal's office. Meanwhile, Orange Gibberish goes live again, calling Hyosan pure hell, and begging his viewers to like and subscribe since he's literally risking his life for their entertainment. I mean, hey, if you're gonna die, might as well farm social media clout on the way out. The dude breaks into a kindergarten for safety, but zombie toddlers chase him onto a climbing frame. Yeah, even the toddlers are deadly now. Over at the police station, Detective Jae-ik continues chewing out Byung-chan, the mad scientist who cooked up this whole nightmare. Byung-chan then plays the tragic victim card, blaming everyone for his son Jin-soo's death after years of bullying. His weird logic goes like this: since nobody helped his kid while he was suffering, humanity as a whole deserves having this virus unleashed upon it. Yeah, totally rational. Jae-ik points out that maybe, just maybe, mass murder isn't the best way to, quote, raise awareness about an injustice. But before the lecture can really stick, zombies storm the police station. Byung-chan redeems himself slightly, sacrificing his life to give Jae-ik the chance to escape, even revealing that his zombie research is on a laptop back at Hyosan High School. He goes down swinging, only to reanimate later with a suspiciously calm, half-zombie vibe, almost looking like he's the intelligent kind of zombie. Oh dear. Morning comes and the students wake up, planning their next steps. They realize they need a phone from the teacher's office. Students' phones are confiscated to get more info. Up on the roof, Eunji also wants to get to the same teacher's office, but for different reasons. After Chul-soo tells her that the half-naked video of her on Guinam's phone has been scheduled to be uploaded to Facebook by 9 a.m. today, she is ready to die, just to make sure that video doesn't see the light of day.
같이 갈래? 네가 나 찍었잖아.
아니 그거 애들이 시켜서 할 수 없이 그런 거잖아.
넌 할 수 없이 살인한 거나 마찬가지야.
Chul-soo begs her not to go, but she calls him a coward and leaves anyway. That turns out to be a big mistake. She gets bitten all over by zombies, but somehow staggers into the teacher's office, half alive, just in time to destroy all the phones. Damn, she didn't have to destroy all of them. Chang-san and Soo-hyuk sneak into the office during the chaos. They try to grab phones, but Eunji attacks Chang-san before Soo-hyuk drags him out, separating the two. Their little standoff draws the attention of nearby zombies. Chang-san quickly takes a phone and promises to meet with Soo-hyuk back at the broadcast room before running off. Meanwhile, Guinam wakes up in the principal's chair like he owns the place. The principal is still alive and well. so he hands Guinam his car keys and orders him to drive his car close enough to the office. But Guinam reminds him that the power dynamic has been flipped, and he's the boss now. He grabs his knife and forces the principal into submission. While that's happening, Chung-san barges into the office and catches Guinam in the act of tying up the principal. Chung-san starts filming with the phone he took, threatening to expose Guinam if he doesn't untie the principal.
지금 다 찍고 있어. 안 놔주면 이거 경찰에 신고할 거야.
But Guinam isn't the type to be shamed on camera. He kills the principal and starts chasing Chung-san through the hallway, hoping to destroy the evidence of his crime. The episode ends with Guinam throwing the knife, which hits Chung-san right in the back. No! In the next episode, Ha-ri the archer and her little group push out of the toilets and start fighting through the corridors of Hyosan High. Their mission is simple: to find Ha-ri's younger brother and then find a way out of this hellhole. They battle their way to classroom 2-5, but when they arrive, the room is completely overrun with zombies. Ha-ri scans the faces of the zombies inside, desperately hoping to see her brother, but he's not there. At the same time, the general mood in the broadcast room isn't very positive. Namra tells the others that rescue probably isn't coming. To the authorities, they're just kids. It's not like they're important politicians or anything. Speaking of politicians, Assemblywoman Eun-hee and her group are picked up by a military helicopter and taken to the quarantine camp. The outside world ain't looking any better. Martial law is declared, the economy has crashed, protesters are attacking Hyosan refugees, religious cults are cashing in, and social media influencers and conspiracy theorists are making clout videos.
조회수 100만 강 넘겠는데?
It's like 2020 all over again, except this time we have actual freaking zombies. Back at Hyosan High School, Soo-hyuk returns alone, apologizing to Onjo for not being able to bring back Chung-san. Meanwhile, Chung-san, who everyone thinks has been fatally wounded, escapes into the library with Guinam not too far behind. Chung-san climbs up a bookshelf and sees a classmate hiding at the very top. Paranoia sets in, and the terrified classmate pushes him down. The student tries to do the same thing to Guinam, but Guinam is faster, stronger, and merciless. He shoves the student into the horde of zombies below without hesitation. It's survival of the biggest jerk out here. Chung-san manages to climb back up, and now he and Guinam wrestle over the phone that carries a deadly secret. Their fight turns brutal. Guinam tries to strangle Chung-san, but Chung-san drives the phone right into his left eye, gouging it out, before throwing him to the zombies. Guinam begs for help, but then vows revenge as it becomes clear he's not gonna make it. The horde of flesh eaters then turns on Chung-san, who crawls into a nearby maintenance shaft. Had he stayed in the library a few seconds longer, he probably wouldn't have missed Ha-ri and her group arriving, finding only the bloody remains of the battle. Ha-ri's team pushes on to the nurse's office, only to find it abandoned. They try the office phone and computer, hoping to reach the outside world. But Hyosan City has already been cut off from the rest of South Korea. No internet, no telecommunication. Chung-san also realizes that the stolen phone is useless inside the maintenance tunnels. The government's rationale for isolating Hyosan City is to prevent misinformation. The only advice given to survivors is to stay where they are and wait to be rescued.
이 방송을 보고 계시는 희망을 가지고 구조를 기다려 주시기 바랍니다.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like government speak for, good luck girls, you're on your own. Elsewhere in the city, Detective Jae-ik and a police officer, Ho Chul, barricade themselves inside Chung-san Chicken to escape the flesh eaters. Inside, they find the zombified but self-restrained student Hee-soo and her still living baby lying on the couch. The infant is dehydrated but unharmed. Jae-ik says they have to take the baby. Ho Chul doesn't really approve, but he searches desperately for milk in the kitchen anyway. Back at the school, Onjo and Ju Young sneak into the science lab and recover a drone that the science club had been building before the outbreak. They get it working, and the students in the broadcast room watch the live footage. One of the students, his name is Woo Jin, notices a few zombies with arrows in them and realizes his sister must be nearby. Too bad the drone narrowly misses Ha-ri's group as they leave the nurse's office. The drone does manage to spot Chung-san, who has escaped the tunnels and made it to the music room.
청산이다. 저기 어디야?
야 정산아!
So, now they know he's still alive. For now. The drone then sweeps over the schoolyard, where Ji-min, another student, spots her parents' truck. She hopes to see them alive, but when the drone zooms in, her worst fear is confirmed. Both of her parents are now zombies. She breaks down crying. Who wouldn't? In the distraction, Jun-young slips up with the controls, and the drone falls low enough for the zombies outside to grab and destroy it. Their small window to the outside world is now gone. Meanwhile, Assemblywoman Eun-hee and her group arrive at the quarantine zone, which turns out to be an abandoned prison. They're given private rooms with beds, a rare privilege compared to the hundreds of civilians forced into overcrowded cells, with nothing but the floor to sit on. It's a reminder that, even in a crisis, the rich still get more attention than the poor. Back in the library, our bully boy Gui-nam suddenly reawakens. To his shock, the zombies ignore him. He examines his wounds and realizes what's happened. He's no longer just human. He's a half-zombie, half-human hybrid, with all his memories intact. Embracing this monstrous evolution, he grabs a fresh jacket, which just happens to be there, steps out of the library, and declares himself a god. And now, he's about ready to impose some divine punishment on our boy Chung-san. In the next episode, we get a quick rundown of what exactly everyone in Hyosan High School is up to. The boy on the rooftop, Chol-soo, is arranging an SOS sign to draw the attention of any passing helicopters. His friend Eun-ji, who managed to destroy most of the students' cell phones in the teacher's office, is still getting used to her half-zombie body. Ha-ri and her crew are, as usual, slaying zombies and serving looks on their way to the archery center. Meanwhile, bully boy Gui-nam retrieves his knife from the hallway, the same one he threw at Chung-san, who's now stuck in the music room with a zombie squished under the piano. And then there's Na-yoon, who's hiding in the PTA donations room, just next to the music room. But curiously, Miss Park is nowhere to be found. Things start getting pretty heavy in the broadcast room. Ji-min, crushed after spotting her parents as zombies, tries to throw herself out the window. The others drag her back inside, and Anjo gives her a pep talk in the recording studio. While that's happening, Ji-min accidentally turns on the microphone. And just like that, class president Nam-ra gets a genius idea. Since it's been established that zombies chase any sort of noise, they can blast sound bites on one side of the school, lure the zombies over there, and then sneak out on the opposite side. Plus, they can use the intercom to tell Chung-san their plan. The test run works. Chung-san hears the message and stays put in the music room. Zombies lose their minds and head in one direction. The half-bees, short for half-zombie, like Gui-nam, clutch their ears like someone's playing nails on a chalkboard. Of course, what Nam-ra and the others don't know is that Gui-nam is now heading their way instead. Nam-ra and the others step outside and immediately run straight into a zombie that doesn't care about the noise at all. Soo-yuk stays back to wrestle with it and nearly gets taken out, until Gui-nam swoops in and stabs the zombie in the neck. Of course, Gui-nam just can't do a good deed and leave. Gui-nam tells his former bully partner that he's only here to murder Chung-san. When Soo-yuk refuses to give up Chung-san's location, Gui-nam turns the knife on the guy he just saved. Nam-ra tries to help but gets bitten on the arm. Before things get worse, Soo-yuk launches the bully boy out the window like garbage on collection day. In other news, Ha-ri's group finally reaches the archery center. After giving up on finding Ha-ri's brother, they have to find a way out of the school. However, a bunch of zombies ambush them before they can make their way in. Jun-sang, who's the weakest of the group, gets gutted by his own weapon during the struggle, which is just tragic and a little embarrassing. Over in the music room, the Nam-ra group reunites with Chung-san. Anjo gives Chung-san a solid kick in the leg for making her worry, which is kinda romantic in her own way. They plan to escape for the roof, but a pack of ghouls are thirsting for them at the door. In the chaos, Hyo-ryong notices the bite on Nam-ra's arm. Uh-oh, not this again. We then cut back to the quarantine camp. It's basically a prison with food lines longer than a Black Friday sale. Survivors fight over toilets, and tempers are boiling. Assemblywoman Eun-hee and Soju's group get their rations, and the guards warn that they could be stuck here for over a month. And Soju is having none of that. The one time he expects a politician to pull some strings, she tells him to be patient. So he knocks the guards out, steals their uniform, and escapes with his partner. Well, at least temporarily. Back in the music room, things are starting to get tense. Ji-min, still feeling hurt that her parents were killed by zombies, insists that they get rid of Nam-ra right away. But Soo-yuk defends Nam-ra, saying that she was bitten by Guinam, who doesn't exactly count as a zombie? If only he knew. Chung-san still believes she's dangerous, since he saw Guinam get bitten earlier in the library. Nam-ra doesn't help her case either. She just stays quiet, and even suggests Soo-yuk leave her behind. Soo-yuk refuses, and promises that if she turns, he'll toss her out the window himself.
봤지? 반장 변해도 니들한테 못 가게 창밖으로 밀어버릴 거니까.
Aw, how romantic. But seriously though, Nam-ra actually feels the urge to bite Soo-yuk just minutes later, but manages to pull herself back together. Anjo suggests that Nam-ra and Guinam might be immune to the infection. Some of them still aren't convinced, so Soo-yuk literally ties himself to Nam-ra to prove his faith in her. Okay, now that's actually ballsy. And romantic! Meanwhile, back at the Chongsan chicken shop, Ja-ik tucks the baby into his jacket like he's smuggling contraband cuteness, but his assistant Ho-chul complains the baby will get them killed. As they try to escape the local zombies by boarding a delivery bike, they hear a girl running and screaming toward them. Ja-ik rushes to save her. Her name is Se-bin, and with the zombies closing in, they have no choice but to retreat into the shop. Back inside, Se-bin tearfully points out her zombie mom scratching at the shop window. Ja-ik hugs her, and Ho-chul tries not to lose it on his boss for trying to save everyone. Meanwhile, at the quarantine camp, Soju ditches his firefighter partner at the wall, telling him to stay alive while he goes to find his daughter. However, he's soon spotted by soldiers who start shooting at him for trying to escape quarantine. Finally, in the music room, the kids find a camera and record messages to their families. Daisu loves chicken, so, of course, he sings about food instead of saying anything emotional. Anjo records a heartfelt note to her dad, admitting she wishes he'd come for her. As she speaks, we cut to her dad swimming for his life in the river until one of the soldiers' bullets finally penetrates. Damn, just when he almost made it. The next episode kicks off with Staff Sergeant Lee Jae-jun having a sweet little phone call with his mom, right before he and his squad get thrown into a zombie-infested shopping mall. Talk about bad timing. The guy's just a few days away from getting honorably discharged, but the love of country has drawn him back. He and the other soldiers mow down waves of zombies like they're in a video game. But while Jae-jun is clearing out the food court, he gets jumped and bitten on the neck. That's pretty much a death sentence in this world. But instead of putting him down, his squad zips him into a heavy-duty body bag and hauls him back to base like some dangerous piece of luggage, which he is, to be fair. We then get an update on Captain Soju as he drags himself out of the river. He checks his gunshot wound, and it's not looking pretty. But he acts like it's just a scratch. He picks himself up and sets off again to find his daughter. At this point, the guy is running on pure dad instincts and stubbornness. Over with the students, Nam-ra is starting to really lean into her half-B powers. Her senses are getting sharper. She can smell everything and even hear a pin drop. She admits to So-yuk that she almost bit him while he was unaware because he smelled a little too delicious. But she pulled back when she heard him finally say her name, instead of calling her class president. Somehow, that moment turns into a middle school confession scene, where So-yuk says he's always liked her but never thought he had a chance just because she's smart and way out of his league. Nam-ra surprises him by saying that she likes him too, and the two seal it with a kiss. Forget the apocalypse. Teenage hormones wait for no one. Meanwhile, Eunji's half-B evolution is also kicking in, and it's not just her sensory organs at work, it's her sense of hunger. Using her heightened senses, she tracks down a fish tank and chomps a goldfish like it's sushi. A teacher, Jung Young-nam, has been hiding in that room all this time. When he asks Eunji if she's been bitten, she casually says yes. The teacher then smacks her in the head with an object, which is the worst thing he could have done. Eunji reminds him that he used to dismiss her bullying complaints as being her own fault, and then she does the unthinkable. She bites a huge chunk of his abdomen, turning him into a zombie too. Nam-ra overhears everything, and the sensory overload starts to hit her hard. She gets tense with the group, pointing out how loud everyone is breathing. The group is on edge until chicken lover Dai-Su lightens the mood by complaining that the only things he hears are his stomach and the zombie stuck under the piano. His comment sparks Anjo's bright idea to use music from the music room to lure the zombies all in one place, so they can escape to the rooftop. Outside the school building, bully boy Gui Nam finds his old bully boss, Myung-hwan, hiding under a wrecked truck. Myung-hwan tries to use Gui Nam as bait to get out of danger, but that backfires immediately. Gui Nam drags him out of hiding, breaks his wrist, and leaves him screaming loudly enough to attract every zombie in the area. The horde swarms and devours him, while Gui Nam watches. Oh well, I guess one less jerk makes the world a better place. Back in the music room, the students start their barricade plan. They lure the zombies to one side with noise, and then escape through the other door. Against all odds, the plan works, and they make it to the rooftop. Unfortunately, the rooftop door has been locked, and only Chol-soo can open it. But even though he hears the students banging on the door, the guy just proves to be a coward. While this disaster is unfolding, Soju breaks into a police armory, arms himself, and takes out zombies like an action hero on a mission. While over at Ha-ri's group, they try to carry an injured Jun Song out on a stretcher, but Mi-jin accidentally drops it, and the whole thing falls apart, forcing them to retreat into the archery center again. Meanwhile, Detective Jae-ik and Ho-chul pull off a daring motorbike escape with the baby and Se-bin in tow. They even spot Orange Gibberish, the live streamer, on a rooftop, and Jae-ik, the bleeding heart that he is, tries to save him. Ho-chul, however, has had enough of Mr. Goody Two-Shoes over here. He insists that the bike can't carry everyone, and drives off with the kids, leaving Jae-ik stranded. Sheesh, it actually sucks being a good cop. At the military base, zombified Staff Sergeant Jae-jun struggles against his restraints, and the higher-ups debate whether to use him as a test subject. The stone-faced commander, Sun-moo, who's been put in charge of the Hyosan problem, tells his staff to ask Jae-jun's parents for permission to use their son as a lab rat. He then orders for a helicopter to scan high schools for survivors. So, maybe he's got a conscience buried somewhere under all that military stoneface. Back at Hyosan High, Soo-yuk and Chung-san hold the line at the stairwell, fighting off the hungry ghouls, while the others desperately try to break through the rooftop door. When a rescue chopper shows up, Chol-soo waves them down and pretends he's the only survivor, leaving the others trapped inside. And just when things couldn't get any worse, Gui Nam pulls up while literally holding a zombie like it's a toy, and looking like he's about to ruin everyone's hope of escaping. Jeez, this guy's a menace! Because why are you aura farming in the middle of an apocalypse? In the next episode, we see Eunji strolling across the school field, spotting all her old bullies, students, teachers, the whole gang, who are now reduced to drooling zombies. Instead of feeling bad, she looks back at the school that made her life miserable, and then heads back inside to carry out one final act of revenge. In the teacher's office, she raids drawers for lighters and anything flammable. Her goal is simple. She intends to burn the school, along with the memories. Girl, arson is not the kind of therapy you need right now. Meanwhile, up on the school roof, Chol-soo has successfully pulled the ultimate betrayal move. The other students are literally pounding on the rooftop door right behind him, but between the alarm and the helicopter noise, no one hears them. So, Chol-soo gets whisked away, claiming he's the last survivor, while his classmates are left behind. That wasn't very cash money of him. Back inside the building, Gui Nam lunges at Chung-san and Soo-yuk, because of course he does. Nam-ra, who's been holding herself together this whole time, finally snaps. Her eye goes zombie red, and she grabs Gui Nam by the throat and flings him down the stairs like he weighs nothing. At that exact moment, Eunji's arson attack triggers the fire alarm, which conveniently unlocks the rooftop door. The students escape, but by the time they get outside, the helicopter is already gone. They're left waving helplessly at the sky, while Eunji pedals off into the city on a bike, convinced she's destroyed the school for good. Elsewhere, Ha-ri and Mi-jin see the helicopter vanish too. Mi-jin suggests that they head to the archery center roof, figuring it's the next best shot at being seen and rescued. Who's gonna tell him? Chung-san's group, refusing to give up, makes an even bigger SOS sign on the main building's roof, hoping this time someone will actually notice. Over at the kindergarten rooftop, Jae-ik is patching up Orange Gibberish's leg with scrapwood and tape. When the vlogger admits he came to Hyosan just to livestream, Jae-ik smacks him and calls him an idiot, which, to be fair, he is. The streamer tries to save face by promising to cancel Ho Chul on his channel for ditching them, but Jae-ik just ignores him and starts testing ways to distract the zombies by throwing buckets on the ground. That's when Ho Chul suddenly reappears, driving a kindergarten school van with the little baby and Sebin inside. Jae-ik and Orange Gibberish dive onto the roof of the van like action heroes, clinging to each other as Ho Chul speeds away. But their joyride takes a turn when they hit a cyclist, who's none other than Eun-ji. Jae-ik, not realizing she's a half-B, rushes to protect her just as the army shows up and points guns at them. Before they can react, the group is hauled off to the quarantine camp. Back at the archery center, Ha-ri gives Mi-jin a crash course in shooting arrows, and the two talk about what their lives might look like after all this, assuming there is an after. Meanwhile, the rooftop crew finishes their giant SOS sign and gathers around a fire, singing songs and sharing secrets, like it's their last get-together. Of course, peace never lasts long. Guinam reawakens again and starts making his way toward the roof. Bro's really a human cockroach. Elsewhere in the school, Na-yoon has her own tragic side story. She goes into the music room and finds the camera with recordings of her classmates. While watching it, she grabs some food to take to the others. But then, she suddenly breaks down, hallucinating about Kyung-soo, the boy everyone accused her of killing. Her guilt spirals into memories of their teacher, Miss Park, who sacrificed herself to save Na-yoon.
이번에는 네가 친구들 도와줘.
Before Miss Park became a zombie, she told Na-yoon to do something to help her classmates and then apologize to them. Remembering that, Na-yoon finally decides to do something good and bring the food to her classmates. But fate doesn't give her the chance. Just as she steps out of the classroom, Guinam finds her first. He kills her and eats her before climbing out a window and straight for the roof. That's what you get for trying to be nice. On the rooftop, Chung-san is having a quiet moment with Anjo. He asks if she ever saw him as more than a friend. Anjo avoids the question entirely, telling him to leave before curling up and crying alone. But the moment is cut short when Guinam crashes in, knocking Anjo to the ground and pinning Chung-san to the floor. With cruel delight, he presses his thumb against Chung-san's eye, ready to gouge it out. Ever since Chung-san knocked his eye out back at the library, Guinam has been dying for this moment. The following episode continues with Guinam pressing down on Chung-san's eyeball, and just as he's about to scoop it out, Soo-yuk jumps in like the best bro ever, only to get tossed across the roof like a sack of laundry. Chung-san, instead of backing down, starts taunting Guinam, calling him a loser. And the thing is, he's not wrong, but maybe don't poke the bear who already wants to poke your eye out. Guinam smirks and tells the rest of the group that they can go, unless they'd like to die alongside their buddy. Naturally, the squad isn't going anywhere. Chicken lover Dai-soo and the others step up like human shields, proving that there is such a thing as the power of friendship. Or maybe not, because seconds later, Guinam starts swatting students left and right like he's playing whack-a-mole. But their secret weapon, Nam-ra, who's normally calm and collected, goes full half-B rage mode. Her left eye glows red, and she launches herself at Guinam. She even stabs him in the leg, which finally wipes that smugness off his face. Guinam quickly figures out that she's just like him, half human, half zombie, and so he tries to recruit her to his own team, but Nam-ra is having none of it. She grabs him and straight up tosses him off the roof. You show him, girl! Meanwhile, over at the quarantine camp, the scientists are tearing their hair out. The virus RNA keeps evolving, which basically means it's rewriting its own code faster than they can make a cure. Jae-ik and Ho Chul roll in with some very important info. They mention Byung-chan's laptop, which could hold the answers to this whole nightmare. The military gets excited enough to send a helicopter to fetch it. When the chopper lands on Hyosan High School's rooftop, the soldiers promise to rescue the students after they finish their mission. Yeah, promises from the military and zombie shows usually age about as well as milk left in the sun. Inside the quarantine camp, Chol-soo bumps into Eun-ji in the food line. It's not the happiest reunion, however. She blames him for abandoning her because he didn't want to risk getting eaten by zombies. I mean, what did she expect? Like, I hate the guy for abandoning his classmates during a rescue, but definitely nothing wrong with staying out of a suicide mission. Anyway, when he tries to make peace by sharing his food, she laughs it off and says she doesn't want food. She casually tells him that she wants to eat him.
너 먹을래.
Back at the school, the rescue helicopter finally lowers ropes and starts pulling students up one by one. The first student to go up is Ji-min, but just as she's about to enter the chopper, the soldiers get a call from Commander Son-mu. The news has spread that Yoon-ji went full zombie mode at camp, biting Chol-soo to death. It comes as a shock because she had been tested and showed no symptoms of infection. This means that every Hyosan survivor could secretly be a zombie, so the current solution is to abandon the Hyosan students entirely. Even worse, Son-mu orders the soldiers to shoot the kids if necessary. Thankfully, the soldiers have a conscience and leave without firing, but the heartbreak on those students' faces? Brutal. Elsewhere, political drama is brewing. Assemblywoman Eun-hee is being interrogated about her role in helping Soju and his partner escape the camp. At first, Soju's buddy tries to take responsibility, but Eun-hee, while looking straight into the camera, takes all the responsibility herself. She says she'll always stand with her people and won't get in the way of a father trying to save his own daughter. Speaking of Soju, he's out wandering a ghost town when a desperate man begs him to save his pregnant wife from a wrecked car. Really tragic stuff. Soju, being realistic, says he doesn't have the equipment. When he tries to leave, the man actually points Soju's own gun at him. Soju calmly points out that if he fires, zombies will come running, and reminds him that he has a daughter waiting for him. Then he walks away as the man breaks down sobbing. As sad as it is, it shows that Soju is really putting his daughter first this time around. As for Eun-hee, she's all smiles after that little photo op. But Soju's partner flips out, accusing her of using this whole incident for political gain. Their bickering is cut short when soldiers burst in and drag everyone to a more secure quarantine, this time in handcuffs. Even Jae-ik's group gets split up, with poor Se-bin sobbing as she's led to a cell alone. And back at Hyosan High, nature itself joins the fight. It starts to rain, and thunder rolls in, which turns out to be painful for both Nam-ra and Gui-nam due to their heightened hearing. The normal kids, though, they're ecstatic. Finally, some water. Their situation still makes them cry, though, but at least there's some water. Soo-hyuk, being a good boyfriend, rips up bits of his shirt to make earplugs for Nam-ra. Chung-san notices this and gets an idea. If the thunder messes with zombie hearing, maybe they can sneak out under the weather. Of course, some students worry about lagging behind, but Chung-san promises to personally lure the zombies away if he has to. The group decides to move in pairs, holding hands so nobody's left behind, though poor Dae-soo, bless him, can't find a partner. It's the zombie apocalypse version of not getting picked in dodgeball. Anyway, the group carefully sneaks to the ground floor, where Ha-ri's group has also decided to use the thunder to escape. Soo-hyuk and the others all manage to reach the parking lot when Chung-san freezes. Standing there is his mother, or what's left of her. She's now a zombie, glaring at him from behind a truck. For a moment, he imagines her just smiling and calling his name, but the growl that follows makes it clear. She's long gone. And the thought shatters him. It's truly one of the most heartbreaking scenes ever. The next episode continues from where we left off. Chung-san's own mom, now fully zombified, tries to attack him. He's crying for her, understandably devastated. But then Dae-soo jumps in with a metal pipe and starts smacking her, unaware of who she is. Chung-san loses it and tackles Dae-soo, beating him out of sheer grief and anger. The whole commotion is basically a dinner bell for nearby zombies, so the group has to run for it. Soo-hyuk and An-jo drag Chung-san away while he's still screaming for his mom, and he has a flashback to the good old days, when he'd fall asleep doing homework in her restaurant. Now, her warm smile has been replaced with zombie snarls. Yeah, that's trauma fuel for life. Meanwhile, Ha-Ri's squad is also making a run for it, dragging an injured Jun-sung who's burning up with fever on a stretcher. He tries to thank Mi-jin for helping him, but before things can get sentimental, they spot the zombies rushing out of the car park, and so it's time to sprint. Of course, not everyone has the stamina of an Olympic runner. Hyo Ryung trips and calls out for Ji-min to help her, but Ji-min spots the oncoming zombies and leaves her behind. Big oof. Luckily, Woo-jin tackles the zombie coming for Hyo Ryung, and Ha-ri swoops in like an archery superhero to finish the job. Ha-ri and Woo-jin finally get their little sibling reunion moments, while Ji-min ends up getting lost and running alone straight into a field of zombies. Karma, meet Ji-min. Although the initial plan was to somehow escape into the mountains, the surrounding zombie population makes the students' pathway not so easy, so they try to make it into the auditorium. But by the time Nam-ra senses that there's zombies inside, it's already too late. The lightning flashes, zombies see them, and all hell breaks loose. Jun-sung realizes he's not gonna make it in his condition, and rolls off the stretcher to sacrifice himself. Clearly, this is no longer the same cowardly kid we saw earlier in the show. What a hero. Not surprisingly, Mi-jin starts screaming as Jun-sung gets piled on by zombies. But Ha-ri and Soo-yuk drag her inside a storage room, where they'll all be staying for the meantime. In a nearby field, we see that poor Ji-min has been surrounded and bitten badly by the zombies, proving again that ditching your friends in a zombie apocalypse is a terrible life choice. While all this teen drama is happening, the military is busy being, well, the military. They watch Byung-chan's video logs, where he basically admits the virus can't be cured. Brilliant. The only way to defeat the virus is to wipe every host out of existence, just like he wiped out his wife and son by drenching them in gasoline and torching them. Commander Sun-moo gets word that Hyosan is basically unsalvageable, so the plan is to block off the city and drop a bomb on it. On the political side, Assemblywoman Eun-hee gets a visit from her party leader, who tells her to resign so the party doesn't look bad when she inevitably dies. Real classy. She tells him he failed Hyosan, and he leaves with his paperwork unsigned. Back with our survivors, Anjo comforts Chung-san as he falls apart over his mom. The group tries to keep spirits up by sharing a single chocolate bar. Soo-yuk comes up with a plan to use the sports equipment cages as moving barricades to push through the zombie crowd in the auditorium. And so, they do it. They form a human hamster ball out of sports cages to push through the undead, but it gradually slows to a crawl. Elsewhere, we see the human cockroach Guinam sniffing the students from afar. He just knows they're still hanging around somewhere, and he's not about to let them run away. We come back to the auditorium, where Jun-young gets bitten in the struggle to push the barricade. Rather than letting himself turn just like that, he climbs outside the barricade and starts fighting off the zombies so his buddies can escape. Damn, that's another hero in my book. In a briefing room, the military scientists are debating virus stuff, but the bottom line is simple. The infection spreads fast, and unless somebody pulls the plug on the whole city, South Korea could be swarming with the undead in no time. Speaking of zombies, the commander visits Eun-ji in her cell. She writes on the glass barrier that she's hungry, before screaming and banging on the thing. Seems that is all the cue he needed. Sun-moo finally makes the call. It's time to bomb Hyosan. His second-in-command tries to protest, but the commander's all about the numbers game, saying they shouldn't think about the number of people they have to kill, but rather the number of people who will be saved. The ends always justify the means with these guys. Anyway, as the kids push their barricade, they find the auditorium doors locked. Soon enough, zombies start breaking through the barricade. Nam-ra literally throws herself into the line of fire to hold the barricade together. And just when it looks like it's game over, the door bursts open. Who's on the other side? It's Captain Soju, who's been hacking and slashing his way through the school to find his daughter. She runs to him and they hug it out in the middle of the apocalypse. It almost seems too good to be true. In the following episode, Captain Soju, the dad every kid wishes they had during a zombie apocalypse, leads the students out of the auditorium. He hugs his Anjo and Chung-san and tells the kids the plan. Head through the tennis courts and the construction site to reach the mountain. Of course, zombies don't like being left out of the plan, so they chase after them. The group reaches the tennis courts, and the undead break down the gates, forcing the kids to fight them off. Soju pulls out several flares and uses them to distract the zombies and buy the students enough time to escape. But the horde notices the kids leaving, so Soju stays behind to become the only prey. He tells Changsan to keep Anjo safe, which hits extra hard because Changsan already has a crush on her. Anjo begs her dad to come with them, but he keeps throwing flares and pushes Changsan out when the boy tries to save him. Turns out, he's already been bitten. He was on borrowed time anyway. Soju chains himself to the gate and sacrifices himself, letting the kids run as far away as possible. Anjo looks back as her father bites the dust, her heartbreak echoing louder than the zombies' growls. At the construction site, the students dodge zombified builders thanks to Namra's spidey sense for the dead. The students crawl onto a ledge and sit in tense silence. Anjo finally breaks down crying, and Hari muffles her so they don't all become zombie snacks. Changsan comforts her, letting her know that it's okay to cry because, honestly, who wouldn't after what just happened? Meanwhile, Soju reanimates on the tennis court. He stumbles forward like a broken Roomba and bumps straight into Changsan's mom. Thankfully, none of their kids are around to see it. While that's happening, a chilling narration explains that zombies are worse than death. Because when someone dies, you can move on, but when they turn, the last version of them you see is a monster.
이 바이러스는 사람을 다른 존재로 바꿔버린다. 내가 사랑했던 사람이 괴물이 된다.
On the ledge of the construction site, Hari comforts Anjo, reminding her that her dad saved everyone and promises that he won't be forgotten. Once Hari leaves to find a way to escape, Anjo whispers to Changsan that she hopes no one else has to sacrifice themselves because it's too painful. Changsan promises they'll talk about it later, after they survive. Elsewhere, Guinam, the world's angriest, undying cockroach, sniffs Changsan's group all the way to the empty auditorium. He kicks a zombified Junyang to the ground just for fun, and then continues following the students' trail. Meanwhile, at the military base, the army is testing new zombie bait, sound frequencies, and drones. They plan to lure the undead into one spot and bomb the area, estimating tens of thousands of casualties. Commander Sunmu orders nonstop evacuation warnings, hoping at least some survivors will hear before the bombs drop. Back with the students, Namra's half-bee symptoms flare up, and a voice in her head tells her to eat Su-yuk. Instead, she bites her own wrist. Su-yuk, ever the romantic, tells her to just bite him next time so they can be the same. Maybe don't do that. Hari and Mi-jin return from scouting the area, and the group decides it's safer to wait for rain before moving again. Which is kinda crazy cause it might not rain all week. Then a military drone flies overhead, blasting evacuation warnings. Namra hears the warning and tells everyone. The army is about to blow up Hyosan High School and 3 other locations. The drones release a painful, high-pitched sound that lures the zombies into kill zones. Just as the kids are panicking about what to do, Guinam crashes the party. He grabs Changsan and bites him, but when Guinam squirms from the drone noises, Changsan quickly shoves him off the scaffolding. Anjo begs Changsan not to give up, but he knows he's done for. He gives her his school patch as a keepsake, kisses her, and goes inside to lure all the nearby zombies to himself. He successfully lures the monsters into an elevator shaft, yelling that he's the happiest guy in school following his intimate moment with Anjo. In the end, the kids manage to escape into the mountain, but Guinam, of course, comes back again. He follows Changsan to the roof, where the two finally throw down. Guinam gouges out Changsan's eye, because that's really all that ever mattered to him. Despite being in agony, Changsan drags the bully boy into the elevator shaft just as the military bomb hits. Flames engulf them both, and the school is obliterated. At the military base, Sunmu confirms that the bombing is over. He transfers command to his deputy, then visits Assemblywoman Eun-hee to inform her of the bombing and to plead that she apologizes to the citizens of Hyosan on his behalf. Coward. Later, he records a video confession, takes full responsibility, and explains that Byung-chan's research convinced him There was no other way to get rid of the zombies. He makes one last loving phone call to his family, then takes his own life, leaving behind his wife's unanswered text messages. The episode ends with one final look at Hyosan High School, which is now reduced to rubble. In the ashes of the construction site, Jungsan and Guinam are gone, and all that remains is Onjo's school patch, burned at the edges, but still intact, a small symbol of hope in this hell. In the last episode, after Hyosan gets bombed, the whole city is dead silent. Literally, the streets are totally empty, and burnt ash is falling from the sky like it's Christmas. Back in the woods where the surviving kids are trying to sleep, morning comes, and Onjo, Soo-yuk, and Nam-ra head to the construction site, hoping against hope that Chung-san is still alive. Onjo yells into the ruins, blaming him for leaving her behind. But they don't find a body, alive or dead. Nam-ra, with her zombie sniffer powers, says she can't smell anyone, and gently tells Onjo it's time to say goodbye. Onjo breaks down crying, and Nam-ra gives her a much-needed hug. Damn. Meanwhile, the army is moving through Hyosan, clearing out the few remaining zombies and putting up safe zone markers. The Hyosan students start climbing up the mountain, but Nam-ra points out something dark. Maybe the soldiers wanted them dead? Because they suspect all of them might be half-zombies like her. Onjo doesn't want to believe that, but Nam-ra insists that she's dangerous and shouldn't stay with them. She also admits that her first night on the rooftop with them, sharing a fire and laughing and singing, was the first time she'd ever felt like she belonged. Onjo promises they'll do it again.
나 친구들이랑 불 피워놓고 앉아있어 본 거 처음이야. 다시 그런 거 할 날이 있겠지.
It's sweet and all, but it kinda stings, because you feel like something will definitely go wrong. We then cut to Byung-chan's family. Remember him? The genius who accidentally caused all this with his science project? Turns out, his wife and kid were zombified, and even though he claimed he burned them, he actually didn't. The authorities roll in, order the bodies preserved, and you can already guess they want to study them. Because, yeah, when has studying zombies ever gone wrong? Anywho, the kids reach what looks like an abandoned city, but Nam-ra senses a horde of zombies coming. They try to run, but Daisu's injured leg slows everyone down. He begs them to leave him, but of course they don't. During the chaos, Woo-jin sacrifices himself to save his sister, Ha-ri. As he's turning, he makes her promise to keep practicing archery. Before he fully changes, Nam-ra steps in and mercifully snaps his neck. It's brutal, but quick. Then things gradually go downhill fast. Nam-ra feels more zombies coming, and she tells the group to run, but her hunger for human flesh is catching up to her. She bites her own wrist to fight it, but that doesn't work, so she bolts away from the group. Onjo and Soo-yuk chase her down and catch her in the middle of eating a corpse.
땀나요.
Yikes. She tries to warn them off, but in a scary moment, she lunges at Onjo before pulling herself back and running into the foggy distance. This time, she's gone for good. The remaining survivors push forward, walking along train tracks until they reach a military checkpoint. Once quarantined, the kids refuse to give statements. They've lost faith in the adults who abandoned them. Onjo, especially, is done cooperating with the grown-ups forever. Can't say I blame her. But in more positive news, time has skipped forward. 4 months and 17 days. Martial law is lifted, but Hyosan survivors are still stuck in quarantine until doctors can prove the virus is gone. Every now and then, Onjo sneaks out of camp to visit a small shrine she built for the friends they lost. On the way back, she spots a flicker of fire at the rooftop of Hyosan High. Later, she tells Soo-yuk, remembering how Nam-ra once said she wanted to sit around a fire with them again. The two agree to meet up and visit the old school. Of course, Onjo tells him not to bring or tell anyone. But when she arrives at their meetup spot, the whole survivor squad is waiting. Apparently, everyone told everyone else not to come, but here they are, breaking the camp rules together.
야, 너만 알고 있었잖아.
They hike to the shrine and leave offerings, before finally returning to the burned school rooftop. There, they find the campfire lit. At first it looks abandoned, but then Nam-ra appears. She looks healthy, not like a raging zombie at all. Everyone lights up at the sight of her. She admits she missed them, but says she can't stay much longer. She has, quote, things to do, and other half-zombies out there to find. She promises her former classmates that they're still friends, even while apart. She then leaps off the rooftop and into the night. And that's the end of our recap. Seriously, South Korea has some kind of cheat code when it comes to zombie stories because they hardly ever miss. This show hits hard, with several memorable moments and themes of love, loss, selfishness, self-sacrifice, you name it. Personally, I'm crossing my fingers for Chung-san to crawl back as a half-B miracle. Because guess what? The story isn't over yet. Season 2 has already been greenlit, and we're just sitting here counting the days until it finally drops. But what are your thoughts on Season 1? Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe with the notification bell turned on. Well, up until next time then, have a good day. And as usual, thanks for watching.